day during my sophomore year of high school, my pre-calculus teacher told our class to choose a word to describe our future 3 years at the high school. That day, I picked the word conquer with all hopes of conquering the world of high school. Since middle school, I aspired to be an impeccable high school student, and I was determined to continue. I mean, I have typical Indian parents who have given me the world and expect me to conquer it. So I can't disappoint them, right? Yeah, that is a goal I will probably never accomplish. But in all seriousness, my sophomore self barely realized how much my reality was going to change. According to the National Institute of Health, about 30% of young adults fight a chronic illness, which is defined as a condition that persists longer than 6 months. Many of your peers have some form of health issues, such as diabetes, asthma, autoimmune disorders, and so much more. In this auditorium here, at least 3 people in your row have some form of health issues. That alone is a pretty eye-opening statistic, but the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services also claims that 96% of these illnesses are invisible. This means if you look at someone who is battling a certain condition, you may not see a physical impediment, such as when you look at me. However, this does not make that disability any less troubling. Today, I'm very grateful to be given the opportunity to share my story. Battling a chronic illness is hard, but battling it in silence is twice as rough. I do not want to be my illness, and I do not want my illness to be me. For the past 3 years, I have battled Ehlers-Danlos syndrome, EDS, a rare disorder that affects my connective tissues, the building blocks of your body. This disease causes a mutation in my collagen, which is the most common protein in your body. It affects the tissues around my joints and organs and causes excruciating pain and many other issues. I have very flexible joints, which allows me to do party tricks such as this, but it is also what causes my pain, as my joints can move far too back and dislocate easily. As a rare disease, this took over 3 years for me to receive this diagnosis. I've traveled all over the nation, meeting over 70 healthcare specialists, and being both belittled and empowered by them. Now, imagine this. Put yourself in these shoes. You go to bed one night after doing a lot of homework, just a perfectly normal night for high schoolers. But the next day, you wake up with a slight pain in your right wrist. And you think, oh, it's just from writing a lot of notes. But over time, it grows to become unbearable. And then it spreads to your left wrist, and then to your feet, and then to your knees, and then to every other part of your body. And now I'm about to make all of you guys hypochondriacs, but this describes exactly what happened to me. I first started noticing symptoms in my sophomore year when I was having trouble handwriting for long periods of time, which over time led to the loss of many other motor skills. I had trouble doing simple things such as walking up the stairs at school, but the hardest thing was losing my ability to dance. For the last 14 years, I have performed Bharatanatyam, which is an Indian classical dance form, which has been my connection to my Indian heritage as a first-generation Indian American. I love to dance. I love to show my expressions through my dance moves, and it's my way to move without words and to simply breathe. So I was devastated. And in the beginning, my dance teacher also failed to comprehend the extent of my disease. As the collapse of this bridge shattered my connection to my heritage, to my ancestors, and to my culture, Ehlers-Danlos syndrome did not just affect the physical connectivity of my body, but also affected my connection to being an Indian American. Unlike most diseases, Ehlers-Danlos syndrome has one effective treatment: physical therapy. And so for the past few years, I've spent hours after school each week with a team of physical and occupational therapists who undeniably became my family. I adored the staff, especially my physical therapist, Tony. Yet I was still heartbroken at the reality of why I remained there, especially when patients I had befriended got discharged and left without me. I was unimaginably upset at the world for taking away so much from me and the disease for changing my life. But somewhere along the way, this anger fueled my determination to get better. Rehabilitation in any form is far from easy. It is excruciatingly painful, gruesome, and exhausting. I had some of my worst moments in that physical therapy facility. I felt worthless, hopeless. I was infuriated by the lack of results and was in constant pain. But my physical therapist, Tony, moved mountains for me. Cutting me absolutely no slack, he modified the exercises to be both fun and interactive. We would wear crazy fun matching socks during my sessions. We would chatter on about school and life. And my favorite is that he loved to distract me from the pain with his awful dad jokes. Now, these all seem like such little things, but they really did wonders, making undergoing treatment not only something bearable, but also something that I looked forward to. Undergoing physical therapy and rigorous dance training each week helped me step by step, choreography by choreography, regain my talents and shine on the stage that I once loved. Now, anytime I tell anyone my story, they like to put me on this pedestal of being strong, unbreakable, and inspirational. And I am not that. Just like my joints, I am pretty breakable and not that strong. I mean, Tony loves to joke about wrapping me in bubble wrap because I hurt myself that often on accident. I almost tripped just getting on this stage today as well. Don't get me wrong. It's hard, and it's a future that I have to live with forever. Having a chronic illness is not fun, and it is truly disparaging. I want to emphasize that my purpose here today is not to gain pity or sympathy, but rather to establish empathy for the experiences of chronic illness warriors. Being a patient is not anything like Grey's Anatomy, except I once had a doctor that did look like McSteamy. And I guess the most that it can do is make a pretty good college application essay. I want to use my experiences to educate and inform you on invisible disabilities. So, the hardest thing about an invisible disability is that it is in fact invisible. You can't see it, so it must not exist, right? Yeah, I really wish, because it would make my life a lot easier. However, this causes a lot of false information and invalidation. Like most people with chronic pain, I've been invalidated by countless doctors who believe that my pain is made up or in my head. This is because common labs and tests tend to run clear on patients like me, especially ones with rare disorders. However, these conditions are even more underground in a school setting. When I was unable to handwrite and was using typing accommodations instead, one of my close friends went around telling everyone that I was using accommodations to get to an advantage. Another one of my friends minimized my pain by its lack in severity in relation to cancer. Now, high school is full of remarks like these, so I was somewhat ready. However, I was not ready to be invalidated by my teachers as well. One of my teachers confronted me in the middle of a busy hallway and also claimed that I was using my health issues to get accommodations for my advantage. A bunch of my teachers love to joke about my vast number of absences when really I'm missing school for doctor's appointments or just being sick. But how do I expect my peers and my teachers to understand that my pain is real when even my doctors do not? This is why education on invisible disabilities for all types of individuals is so important. Now, today I want to share with you a few lessons that I have learned while fighting Ehlers-Danlos syndrome that I think are invaluable. The first and biggest one is the importance of advocating for yourself. Like I said, most of my doctors dismissed me, and so I had to fight for my own diagnosis. My pediatrician, who was supposed to be at the center of my care, dismissed almost all of my concerns. You just have ADHD, it's all in your head, you don't want a chronic illness, it isn't fun. She is one of the reasons that I want to be a healthcare professional in the future, so that people like me don't ever have to experience that. However, I've also seen healthcare specialists who have so much compassion, such as Tony and my hand surgeon, who work endlessly to help me, who analyze every single word I say, and who try their utmost hardest to find answers for me. They are the ones that truly inspire me. So what I've learned is you do not have to tolerate being treated badly. Walk out of doctor's appointments where you are not being listened to. You are the ones paying them. Walk out of situations where you are not being given the world, because that is all you deserve. Walk out of friendships and relationships where you are not being given the level of care and respect that you deserve. Advocacy for you begins with yourself. There is no one out there that is going to be there for you or advocate for you like yourself. The other big lesson that I've learned is the importance of finding or creating your own community. Although social media tends to have a negative connotation, it has been vital in connecting me to people that have my disease across the world, and it's really been a pivotal role in me maintaining my disease. Also, wearing fun socks with my best friend who also has chronic pain during my hospital stays or procedures or even just hard doctor's appointments reminds me of my support system during the hard days, just like how wearing socks with Tony during my sessions helped. These small things connected me to a community filled with chronic illness warriors and essential people in my journey. Now, when I first started experiencing debilitating pain, I was devastated and I was ready to give up. But I heard someone's story and it inspired me to fight. For me, that person was Chloe Shahoff. Chloe is an 18-year-old girl who lives in Los Angeles, California, who I met under her advocacy platform on Instagram under the handle @chronicallyillchloe. Chloe has lupus, which is an autoimmune disorder where the immune system attacks itself. The immune system is supposed to be the body's ally, protector, and confidant. But for lupus patients like Chloe, it does the exact opposite. Regardless of these challenges, Chloe has still managed to conquer the world. She formed a nonprofit organization called Together We Are, trying to communicate with chronic illness warriors and create a community through artwork. She also went on to write a children's novel called The Superhero Made of Metal, which is about her experience undergoing a spinal fusion at the young age of 9. Chloe is quite a superhero and is a stellar example of how you can take something that is happening to you and turn it into something beautiful and create change. Now, she's an anomaly, and I do not expect any of you guys to do half of the things that she has done. But I encourage you to use your unique experiences and turn it into something beautiful and create change. Chloe is not her illness, and her illness is not her. While Chloe's story is the one that inspired me, it was my story that inspired my friend Olivia. And for that, I'm forever grateful and thankful. It was the first story that she heard and resonated with. Olivia is a 19-year-old college freshman that lives in Florida. She battles gastrointestinal motility malfunction, which is just a long name for a broad spectrum of GI disorders, and isn't even truly a diagnosis, something she has been fighting endlessly for. During her senior year of high school, she started experiencing debilitating stomach pain, which had her in and out of the hospital for 2 months, a time she was supposed to be cherishing at home with her friends. She describes her experience as dehumanizing. The doctors couldn't find a root cause, and so, just like a lab rat, she was probed with tests, and they still couldn't find any answers. Like myself, she has also faced ableism, but this time at the college setting. During her freshman year of college, in her fall semester finals week, she started experiencing a pain flare. Her roommate failed to understand that her condition was chronic and not contagious, and she tried to file a complaint against her to kick Olivia out of their room. Obviously, these complaints were not seen through, as Olivia does not have a contagious disease. However, it shows how spreading education on invisible disabilities is vital to preventing situations like these from happening. Olivia is not her illness, and her illness is not her. Chloe, Olivia, and my stories are in no way unique in the chronic illness community. However, there are thousands of us out here that have invisible disabilities that most of you guys don't know about. Through my community, I have realized that my identity is not my illness, but my identity can encompass my illness. I am not my illness, and my illness is not me. Sophomore me was convinced she would conquer the world, and she indeed did. My version of conquering the world was not only learning how to live with Ehlers-Danlos syndrome, but also rehabilitating my body to be able to dance again. I trained my body both physically and mentally to come back from the lowest point in my life, which shows that I, and every single one of you guys out there, have immeasurable strength to conquer the unconquerable. Thank you.